This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in alongside Royden Ogletree, who's got a fresh haircut.
That's last week.
Last week.
You always got to give yourself 2 weeks to grow it out.
Yeah. My wife tells me I look like a child when I get my hair cut.
I cut my hair and shaved my beard at the exact same time, and everybody at work was like, "Wow, you look so much better." And I was like, "Oh, Jesus, thanks."
Yeah.
Like,
I'll probably do a haircut at the end of this week, and it's one of the things. But like she says, I look 13 years old.
I got you look 12 years younger.
Yeah,
I was like, do I look haggard before? Like, what happened?
No, I mean, like I get my beard gets puffy, and that makes me look older, or like I've been lost in the wilderness, or whatever.
Yeah.
Aboard a Boeing plane. I don't know.
Fun. Your audience is probably a little bit older, so they know this. But if you're younger and you're watching this, get your hair cut 10 days before you have to go anywhere.
Yeah. That's what I did.
A wedding 10 days before you have to go to the wedding.
That's what I did before my wedding. Like my wife, I just had her go on. I'm like, will you make the appointment, please? Yeah. Tell me which day. Go on the website, make the appointment. That way I don't look 12 years old.
I was like,
at the wedding.
For my thing, I was like, I'll just do my hair how I normally do my hair for our wedding. And then like in the photos, part of my hair is like sticking up sideways. And my wife looks at him and goes, I mean, you could have just gotten the person that did my hair for $1,000 to come like do your. You're like, oh yeah, well, I thought I could. I've been doing my hair my whole life, so
yeah. I remember when I was in high school, and then the first part of college, you just have like when you're on the football team, or like when you're in college in a dorm, there's always some dude who cuts hair, right? And so that was
just the one
Garrett,
all the way around.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Dude, I used to let a friend cut my hair in high school, and he jacked me up one time pretty bad. I know where you're coming from.
But like, look, if I had we had a couple guys that could push up a good fade.
Yeah.
A decent fade. That was all it was. Like, that was all I needed, and look, my hair, then, I mean, now, look, I mean, I've sustained 40-year-old them pretty well, but it's thinner, but.
Hey, you're hanging on well.
Yeah,
man.
I'm hanging on well. But my hair, as you know, you knew me years ago, Garrett, you knew me years ago. My hair used to be very, very, very thick. Mm-hmm. So it grew really fast. And I had a chia head, for sure. And so and you're playing football, like the last thing you want in South Florida
long hair
is hair that's like thick and hot and like under the helmet and like, I don't want to sweat. Like, I know I'm going to sweat from my head, but I don't want it to like, when I take my helmet off to like, then like be released. And like, it was annoying. So I was always getting fades. Right. So then eventually, like I went through college, always kind of getting a fade. And I was kind of having somebody do it, or I'd just run to it like a Supercuts and get it. And then when I got a little bit older and I'm out on my own, a girl told me like, you do not have the head for that. And I was like, all right.
It took one woman to
do one thing. And then like I thought like, oh, is this what they talk about at their meetings? They have meetings, right? Like, anytime that any women are in a group,
right,
and then the man leaves, it changes into whatever. Like they're not meeting about what they were meeting before when the man was there. Like it could be at an office, and then the man leaves, and then it changes into what's up with his shirt. Yeah. Or like that's how it goes.
Can you believe that he said that to us?
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
And they're organized about this stuff. And as we're not. Like
there's like a secret cabal that
it is. That's what and of course, and this is especially what I believed in my 20s, is like there are chicks at a meet. There's a hot girl meeting. There's a like where the hot girls go, and they like go, well, Paul Catalina's haircut moves him down a rung. So
it's usually in your local bar's restroom.
Yeah, like it's there, like a place that you can't go. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought was going on. I don't know if it's true or not, but it is my flat Earth in that, like maybe
there's underground tunnels where the women are meeting.
They go there. They can go really quick. Look, since the advent of phones, I'm sure it just goes a lot faster now. Yeah. You can Zoom these things. You don't have to meet in person. Like, look, this. I mean, it was like Fight Club.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. So then I was like, I should grow it out. Much to the joy of my mother, who was always like, you have such beautiful hair. You should grow it out. But now that I'm married, there are just rules for my hair that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
And my beard, I have to have one, A, and B, the length of said beard at any given time for any given event.
Yeah, my wife, Caitlin, says like, oh, I like when you shave, but that in between stage is bad. I was like, well, we can't have both. Like, we can't have this without like the sharp knives at the very end. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. She was like, and I just like, I don't know the answer to this.
No, the key, and here's the other thing. I spend way more money on shampoo and beard cream and
I have a facial regimen, a nighttime facial regimen.
Yeah.
Did you ever have, when did that start?
Yeah. When I got married.
I should have had it a long time ago. Maybe I wouldn't have looked like a leather shoe, but like, I'm just like that you need this amount of creams and this moisturizer. And hey, did you know you need to wear sunscreen every time you go out of the house? Every time?
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
I'm going in my car to work.
Yeah. Well, see, Royden, you are unfortunately cursed with the, what are you, Irish?
Scottish. Yeah.
Scottish. You're cursed with that British Isles gene.
Right.
As where, Central Europe over here.
Yeah.
I can move easily throughout without getting sunburned. Mm-hmm. And don't get me started on my Palestinian wife. She's got it completely on lock. Completely on lock. I've never seen, now look, she is very copious with her. I've seen her get sunburned once. It was on our honeymoon, and she wasn't sunburned. It was just her arm from where we were on the boat trip, and like she had to put her arm. And that's like, oh, my arm is sunburned. I was like, wow, we were out in that boat for a while. But that's it. All right, Royden, let's talk Big 12 hoops to start out on the show today. Big Monday last night was a very big Monday for Baylor because they started out their senior night awful. Texas was in complete control of that game, up by 8 at half, up by as many as, they're up 14. 14. 14. And for the first, I would say 2/3 of the game, it just looked like, even though Baylor was like taking little nibbles, that they were not going to get to rally. But Brock Cunningham unleashed the punk again. For the second big Monday in a row. Well, I guess that wasn't Monday. That was a Tuesday last week.
For his 18th season of college basketball.
Yeah, decided you know what? You know what's better than one flagrant 2 foul? Two flagrant 2 fouls. Let's do it again. I'm going to play my hits. And so he, got another one. And look, after that point, the refs, I think, really were trying to send Rodney Terry a message of, you got to keep your dog in the cage or we're going to just, we can't let this get out of hand.
Yeah.
And so it got a little ticky-tack on Texas's side in that there were some fouls that, got by, but Baylor knew and started attacking. Jalen Bridges was absolutely fantastic last night.
It's the best game he's played ever.
Yeah. And Baylor, now, if you look at TCU, Kansas, and now Texas in a 3-game winning streak, going to Texas Tech on Saturday to end out the regular season is the second hottest team in the Big 12, maybe the third if you count, maybe the second hottest behind Houston right now.
Yeah.
Iowa State's still playing really, really well, so I don't want to take them out of this, but Baylor's hot right now as they get into March, which is when all the Baylor fans were kind of hoping this hot streak would hit because they haven't really had – they won 5 out of 6 and they looked good, but in that 5 out of 6, it was always, this kind of ridiculous way they'd win games and they'd figure out they'd grind through it. They was not this come back from behind or, really take charge in the second half, but 53 points in the second half last night was fantastic for them.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of things Brock Cunningham, a little ticky-tack on that flagrant 1 foul. Mm-hmm. And wait, he got ejected. Was it a flagrant?
Yeah, it's a flagrant 2. Right?
Was it
flagrant 2? Yeah.
Flagrant 2. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a flagrant 1. But little ticky-tack, a little bit of a reputation call. Also, Jacoby Walters got hit on 18 of those screens and fell down on 17 of them too. But so there's a little bit of that going on. And there's a little embellishing going on by Baylor as well too. But then again, Rodney Terry was complaining about the free throw calls. They shot 10 more 3-pointers than Baylor did also. They weren't driving it to the rack with reckless abandon early on in the game. The free throws in the first half did serve to keep Baylor wholly in the game. Mm-hmm. And then, in fact, they took the lead on free throws, though. But they were just attacking once they figured out, they hit some threes, but once they figured out, like, okay, look, they got a kind of a light whistle here now, they attacked, and then Texas couldn't really do anything about it, especially when was it Dessou once he went out too as well.
Yeah. Well, and Texas better hope that he's not out. He only played 10 minutes last night, and they better hope that knee gets well in a hurry, because without him, they're a completely different team. Completely different. So
I don't know. I think I've always said eventually one of these games Baylor is going to come out and actually play a good first half of basketball, but wasn't to be this game. And not to say that they didn't score the basketball, but something about Fran Fraschilla made a good point that last year on senior night they got blown out by Iowa State because it just like throws off your entire rhythm of when you're supposed to come out and warm up and yada, yada, yada. But Jalen Bridges was incredible. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's going to be a long-time NBA player. Now, will he go in the first round of any NBA draft? I don't think so. But, neither did like Royce O'Neal, and I've said this before. It's like it's so comparable to me that that's what he kind of looks like to me. I think Royce O'Neal maybe having a little tighter handle and stuff than he did. I digress. But Jalen Bridges, 40% from three, like nearly 90% from – he's going to be like a 50, 40, 90 guy this year. And he couldn't have come up bigger. I will say this. I would like to end out the regular season against Texas Tech. You don't necessarily have to have it. It would add a quad one win to your schedule that would then potentially – it could catapult you into a 2 seed.
Yeah. They're playing – look, they're a 3 seed as it stands today. They're, in my mind, on the way out playing for a 2 seed or to avoid a – I mean, look, the least amount of games they're going to play for the rest of the stretch is 2. They've already guaranteed they're not going to play on Wednesday in the Big 12 tournament. So that means like they're at least that point. So I think that they're a 3 no matter what. I don't think they can fall to a 4 unless they got absolutely bludgeoned in Kansas City on Thursday.
By a way lesser seed, like if Oklahoma State pulled off an upset or something.
Yeah, something like that. Like they got absolutely bludgeoned and you're like, oh, well, maybe they're not a 3. Maybe this hot streak was a mirage. I think they're a 3. And I think the bigger story in this is like, what seed are you now? Like, is Texas if Texas winds up 8-10, that would make them 19-12 overall.
They're projected right now by bracketology. They were like an 8 or a 9 seed. Especially they were last night. They were saying that now, giving up a 14-point lead, and then some of your best players getting injured, and
But they've got Oklahoma. They've got Oklahoma on Saturday at home to end the season. So we'll see how that goes. But if they lose to Oklahoma, and here's the thing about Texas, you have no idea. You saw both Texas teams in the same game last night. Mm-hmm. You saw the team that like doesn't miss shots and is like can be really tough to get your arms around. And then you saw a team that the wheels completely fell off. And usually Texas has been
dominated on they have all these athletes, but were somehow dominated on the glass by Baylor last night.
Usually when you watch Texas, they will they'll have this kind of like today's not the day or today is the day. Like they've decided when they walk into the gym who they're going to be.
Right.
As opposed to today they're just like they're letting Jekyll and Hyde come out and fight each other in real time. It's just like, all right, well, the first half couldn't have gone any better for you at all, and the second half couldn't have gone any worse. And that's who they are.
Yeah.
And now they're, to use a more modern reference, they're like the Hulk in that the personalities are starting to merge. And which one is going to take over?
Yeah, Smart Hulk or
Smart Hulk or just rah!
Smashing time.
Those are the two things that's going on with them. So if Texas can ever be Smart Hulk, they're dangerous. But they're not like Smart Hulk's not always driving the bus for this team.
Yeah, I know it's easier said than done, but why isn't Max Abmas why isn't he averaging 25 points a game, having a Steph Curry season? Mm-hmm. He looked like the most unstoppable player I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Baylor play. They couldn't get in front of him.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't matter because he was bombing threes 5 feet behind the arc. And eventually water finds its level when it comes to that stuff. You're not always going to shoot 90% from 3-pointer to start a game or to continue a game. If they would have, then they would have blown Baylor out by 30 40 last night. Would have looked like the Celtics did to the Warriors a couple days ago. But I think they desperately have to ride him to whatever their end result is going to be. But if they're injured and hobbling into the Big 12 tournament like 8, 9, I just don't see a path where they make like a Sweet 16 or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't. I mean, this is a different. We had Kirk Bowles on the show yesterday, and he kind of said, "Look, this is a team that they knew probably wasn't going to make the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, but they didn't expect this kind of disaster of a season." So, but look, I mean, there are lots of other stories in the Big 12 to go over, and mostly look, if you look at the schedule tonight, there's some pretty interesting one. Kansas at home against K-State. That is one they need badly. They lost to K-State right after they had that great win.
Both teams needs it badly.
Yeah.
Kansas State isn't like Kansas State's kind of dead in the water.
I don't think like Kansas State's got to win this one, and then they've got to win in the tournament. So I think they're kind of dead in the water anyway. From every bracketologist we've talked to, especially Jerry Palm, is like he was like, well, what do I have to do? He's like, they have to win the Big 12 tournament or come close.
17 and 12 going in. It's just
just right there.
Really a downgrade from from the season they had last year. I mean, obviously, magical run, but it's crazy the downfall of that.
But Tech and Oklahoma State, Tech needs to take care of business. I mean, they'll be fine. But they need to win, I think, going into play Baylor so they can have their juice in Lubbock as Baylor comes in, because they got to make that the hard place to play, especially after losing to Texas at home last week is something I know has to stick in their craw quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati and Oklahoma, both those teams need that win, but I think Cincinnati's kind of out of this thing right now.
Yeah, is Oklahoma projecting like an 8 seed as well,
something
too?
like that. Oklahoma's probably going to make the tournament.
Maybe a 10 seed?
Yeah, but Kansas needs that win really, really badly. And then BYU and Iowa State tomorrow is probably the game of the week in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Even when you get to Saturday, when everybody else is playing. That one, or I guess Houston and Kansas in Houston. But BYU and Iowa State tomorrow night. BYU has been able to roll into Ames and win. Or not Ames, not Ames. They rolled into Kansas and won.
Yep.
They've won other places. Now here's their first shot to Ames as a Big 12 team. That'll be really interesting to see how Otts and his group handle that one. But, yeah, the Big 12 is like the cream's rising to the top. And, of course, the Kansas situation is really, really strange. But, like, they can't shoot threes and they don't have a bench. So
you saw it on Saturday when we watched them play in person. It was like that bench. They had a whole like hockey line change.
Yeah, because he's trying to keep the starters fresh.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, but it wasn't a minute that they were out there on the floor where they were just. He was fed up with them. He's like, look, screw this. Y'all all go back in.
I've watched plenty of Kansas, as you all know, and Nick Timberlake. Here's two things that have undone the season for Kansas. First and foremost, and I can't say this enough. The Arterio Morris decision to let him transfer is the thing that set them on this path to where they're not really Kansas, because him not being able to him not being available and him being already being in trouble when he was in Texas and then coming into Kansas and getting in worse trouble. That is something I can't believe. It's just Bill Self made a misstep that was very un-Bill Self-like. What
did he do, by the way? Sorry.
He's been accused and charged with rape.
That would do it, yeah.
So Arterio Morris, who was, I think the first one was he assaulted his girlfriend before, and then now he's taking it up even more of a level, I guess. But I mean, I'm not trying to be flippant at all about that, but this is not someone you should have gotten involved with. It's not something Texas should have gotten involved with. And what I will say for Texas, as much as people hear me dog on Texas, for the most part, in the athletic department, this is not the same as the whole university, but in the athletic department, when Texas has a problem, for the most part, there's a couple of examples. They had a strength coach back in the day that they don't want anybody to talk about, but for the most part, when they get exposed as having this kind of a problem, they solve it fast.
They clean it quick, yeah.
They just
got a good PR department.
Well, and part of it is you can't also be the ones who sit on the throne and point out everything that everybody else does.
Right.
And then
you cannot be holier than thou.
You can't do it. And they're smart enough to know that, where it's not like, oh, look what Baylor and Tech and this and TCU, oh, they all let these guys play. How dare they? We can't stand for this. And then well, what about your coach hitting his girlfriend? They're like, oh, that's a different thing. Like they didn't do that. Chris Beard got in trouble, and they let Chris Beard go to their own detriment. Like, I mean, as far as on the court results, like Chris Beard, one of the best coaches in the country, but they weren't going to put up with nonsense. And whether or not whatever happened, people say, and he said, she said happened with Chris Beard, he brought negative attention to the coach position. And that's why he's gone more than anything. Like, whatever happened, like, you got in this situation.
Yeah, we're not going to let you be one of the highest paid employees in the state of Texas and then also be accused of something heinous. Like, we're just not going to do it.
Whatever you say happened, like, you can't have this follow you. Yeah. And so they took care of that. And, again, you're not going to hear me writing Valentines to Austin, Texas all that often. Nope. But they take care of these things. Kansas, I'm just surprised didn't see that.
Right.
Like, well, they didn't see, like, and you get, like, he had talent blinders on and, like, man, this guy could be perfect for the system, all those things. The second thing, much more minor, and it's been in flux, but Nick Timberlake is just not a Kansas player. He's just not. And he was a guy that when he was at Towson, everyone in the country wanted because he was a dead-eye scorer. Great three-point shooter, was going to fill up the score, but when you go play for Bill Self, you have to play Bill Self basketball. You have to play defense. And look, it almost undid them a couple years ago with Remy Martin, in that Remy Martin, was fighting through injuries, which I don't think were really all that bad, but I think the most thing he was fighting through was, you're going to play this way, and if you play the way that I coach you to play, you'll be fine, Remy. And he took it in stride, but it was a challenge for him, so they couldn't always put him in key spots because he just wasn't, like, the light didn't come on. And then what happened in the Big 12 tournament and beyond in 2022, the light came on for Murray Martin and they won the national title. So they're going to need that same exact thing to happen for Nick Timberlake. And I don't know if you can win that lottery twice.
Hey, Nick Timberlake's been in college since like 2 presidential candidates. So
when's it going to come on? Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he could have, like, there's probably 50 other colleges he could have gone to because, believe me, 50 colleges wanted him, where people be talking about Nick Timberlake, the starter and the scorer, where the defensive aspect is not going to be as big of a deal.
Well, he's being outplayed by Furphy.
Well, and Furphy, other than the other day where Baylor kind of picked on him, has been fantastic. Yeah. Furphy is what they wanted Nick Timberlake to be. Yep. And they wanted, like, Furphy, like, he wanted their roles switched, where Furphy was the sixth man coming off the bench and giving you 3-pointers and scoring. And Timberlake was the one who was, scoring 18 to 20 points a night, and that just didn't happen.
They also have the Baylor problem where it's like Harris is the only one that can handle the ball. Like, I know that McCullough can, like, kind of initiate the offense a little bit, but, like, he mostly hasn't been out there. But, like, that game against Baylor, he had to play Harris 40 minutes because he's the only, like, point guard that can initiate the offense. Yeah. Whereas Baylor's kind of the same way, where they're just like, we got one dude that can really get it.
They also thought Nick Timberlake was going to be able to do a little bit of that, too. Yeah. And he kind of can, but he's not. That's not what, like, he just wasn't what Kansas needed. He didn't fit.
Also, they expected Hunter Dickinson to be player of the year, and he's great.
He's fantastic.
But he's not the player of the year.
Well, McCullough is more of a player of the year candidate to me on their team than he is. Just if he wasn't injured so much, we might be talking about McCullough as the player of the year outside of, Shed at Houston, who I think is the player of the year.
So it was Timberlake supposed to be to Kansas what LJ Cryer is to Houston?
Yes. Okay. I think that's what they wanted. But they wanted somebody who could do it. He just didn't fit. He just did not fit. And it's been ringing in my head as soon as Maceo we had Maceo on yesterday.
He's also not shooting well. He's shooting 26%
exactly. So
from
he's 26% for three. When they thought they were getting a 40% three-point shooter and a guy who could just score. He's just not doing that. But Maceo Teague told us about his decision to transfer to Baylor and not a Big Ten school, which he did not mention, which I'm guessing it was Michigan State. As I think, but like it was somebody like that who was like, he's like, man, this is a great coach. Like he didn't want to mention their name. He's like, and of course, this is also doesn't happen with every athlete because they're young and they're kids and they're immature and they don't do these things. But Maceo Teague's one of the smartest basketball players. Collectively, that's the other reason that we never talk about that 2021 Baylor team. Like the overall IQs.
Oh, you had basketball savants.
You had Jared Butler. Maceo Teague, if you took Butler, Teague, Mitchell, and Vital and put them in charge of like a law firm, they would win cases in front of the Supreme Court
all day.
They just had this
The law firm of Butler, Mitchell, Teague, and Vital.
And the Joker. and the villain. Hey, Vital, we need you to go in and really shake up this jury. No problem.
Just coming in as the heavy. Just like, hey.
I object. This whole courtroom's out of order.
All right.
Like, that would have been him. But Maceo was so smart, and he's like, look, I just looked at the roster, and they already had 5 guards, and, you can't play 6 people, and you certainly can't play 5 guards at once all the time. He's like, so I don't really fit. And he looked at Baylor and looked at who was leaving and that he would still have to sit out. And he's like, they've got 5 guards this team had 5 guards that were freshmen and sophomores. So again, when he's able to play, all these kids are going to be sophomores and juniors, and he's been sitting out and they've all been playing. So he looked at Baylor's roster and said, look, I really liked it here. I can go here and sit my year, and then they'll need me and another guard to step in because that's what they run. And guess what happened?
Yeah.
So I think with Nick Timberlake, it just was one of those things I'm sure I can learn to play defense the way that Bill Self wants me to, because you think you can because you're a good athlete. Then Bill Self, the best coach in America, of course he thinks he can coach anybody to play defense. And it's just one of those things, man, I remember watching when I was in Lawrence, Nick Timberlake missing a shot and committing a turnover in back-to-back possessions. And he and Bill Self had gotten into it in the game beforehand. He had kind of been, kind of shot back at Bill Self. And the look on Bill Self's face when if he could have pulled him out like a hockey line change as he skated past.
Yeah, just over the boards.
Just open the little door and have him go in, he would have done it. He would have been he would have taken his stick and be like, no, here's all the other sticks too. You can't have these. That's it. You're done. If that's what he would have done. He was just so mad. And it's just because, and for whatever reason, it's not because Nick Timberlake isn't trying either. It's just he was not a real KU basketball player, which is fine. You can be a basketball player. He'll probably go play in Greece and be the Jimmer Fredette of Greece, or Turkey or wherever, he can play.
Spain, there's 1,000 basketball leagues now.
But yeah, it's just not it just wasn't a fit. And that's where Kansas went awry. Is they had one guy who's not a fit because he's not there and he's probably broken the law, or maybe broke, I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble, potentially broken the law. And then another guy who's there and is willing but not as able as they hope.
Yeah, and I will say this about the defensive thing when it comes to basketball. I kind of think that you either got it or you don't. You can teach a guy with athleticism to defend better, but the defensive instinct, Davion Mitchell, it was athletic and great, but he was a great defender because he knew where to be all the time.
Well, it's vision. It's you just have that. It's a sixth sense.
There's something about it. You also partially. I hate stealing the Gen Z you got to have that dog in you a little bit. And some people just don't have it.
Well, look, I think sometimes, and where the coaching comes in, is I do think that some coaches are not as good because scoring is fun, right?
Right.
Every time the basket goes in, that's fun. That's the fun part of it. I'll compare it to fishing. You've got to, when you're teaching a kid to fish, you have to make them love the whole experience. Being on the boat, touching the bait, putting the thing, everything has to be fun, because most of the time it's just a line in the water.
It's just waiting.
You're just waiting. So that, with baseball, you have to teach people, you have to teach kids young that being the third baseman is fun, and it's not just about hitting.
Yeah.
Because again, when you're not in the batter's box, you are waiting.
Picking daisies, yeah.
Yeah, you're waiting. You have to teach them that left field is fun. That, look, you can do some great things out here, and you really have to focus on it. Fishing and defense for basketball, I think, is like that. It's tough to coach because you're trying to tell them, look, I know that the only thing you want to do is take the ball, go to your side of the court, and put it in the basket.
Right.
I get it. That's all that's going through your mind. But you have to really enjoy not letting them do it too. Mm-hmm. And the great defenders in the history of basketball got pure joy out of stopping you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the case, because sometimes I think it's just stressful for guys, especially when you're playing somebody who's just a scorer, and you're like, how am I supposed to?
How am I supposed to counter this?
Like if you could be one of the best defenders in the league, or have that kind of talent in the NBA, but if Kevin Durant's going to score 40 points on you, he's going to score 40 points on you.
Yeah.
And it can be one of those things of like, why is this even part of it?
Well, yeah, people watch the NBA and they're like, well, they don't play defense, and some of that is a little true, but also it's like, no, they're just really good at scoring the basketball.
Yeah, it's just like but like when anybody who was on Jalen Bridges last night was like, I'm trying.
Yeah, I got a hand in his face. I don't know.
Max, guarding Max Asmus last night was not fun. It was nothing you're going to do is going to work. Mm-hmm. Nothing you're going to do, but you still have to do it. And that's where guys like, that 2021 Baylor, that team, they had as much fun playing defense as they did playing offense, and maybe it's sometimes more.
Because it can lead to, there's a whole thing. It just lead to offense.
Yeah, but it's hard to sell that because, when you see somebody making a three-pointer, the crowd goes a lot more nuts than making kind of a crafty defensive play.
Oh, yeah. It's like, we cut him off at the baseline. Yeah.
Yeah, not everything is a blocked shot. Like, the ball went out of bounds. What do you know? That was because you really forced it there.
Yeah.
As like, is that ours? Yay. But it's not like a three-pointer to bury you.
He made him go left into a double team. That was incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely. When we come back, Bruce Feldman ranked his top 25 coaches and changes from last year. There's a couple things that stood out to me. Yeah. Some things I disagree with. Some things I'm curious to see how they develop, and some I'm in the middle on. But I'm very curious on number 6 and what Garrett thinks of that, because I think he'll disagree wholeheartedly, and he doesn't care how many books Bruce Feldman has written about college football. He'll have an opinion. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
So, friend of the show, of the channel, we should call him friend of the channel.
The whole channel.
Friend of the channel, Bruce Feldman.
He hadn't been on this show.
No, he's been on the other show. Quite a bit, as a matter of fact. We were just on, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Weeks ago, we just had Bruce Feldman on. He likes to do, in the offseason, ranking the top 25 football coaches. I believe, do you have the graphic already from the other?
Hold on. I don't know how I'll be able to pull that with the split screen.
Don't worry about it then. Don't worry about it. But Stuart Mandel also did some rankings. We're going to talk about Bruce Feldman's. Number 1, Kirby Smart. Number 2, Dabo Sweeney remains he was number 3 last year. He moved up. And he's still one of the best coaches in the country. Like, you're not going to convince me he's
a
not
Hall
in
of
the
Fame coach. Like,
top 10. I just think that another year of, again, he hasn't gotten in the transfer portal at all. And everybody around him has. And I just think that you're not going to win with a total transfer portal team. No. But, you got to
fill some holes.
Okay. Michigan has a lot of their transfers kind of fly under the radar a little bit, but half their offensive line that was the best in the country transfers. They've got transfers, and look, Ohio State, one game away from, being in the same spot as Michigan, tons of transfers, so Florida State, who won the league last year, would not have done so without, they've got their draft class that you just saw the other day in Indianapolis, Jared Verse, Jordan Travis, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, all those guys, guess what they were? Guess what they were, Garrett? They were transfers.
Braden Fisk.
Braden Fisk, yeah. Braden Fisk, all transfers. And so if you've decided that, like, you know, not every fruit in the transfer tree is ripe, but if you know how to do it, which I would assume that a guy like Dabo Swinney knows how to do.
Or can find somebody that knows how to do it.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, standing on a moral high ground that doesn't exist for anyone else.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing for a guy that is like relative. Now he's older. We've known Dabo since he was like, he's been in the public eye since he was like 32. But like, for somebody who is as relatively young as Dabo is, he's not Nick Saban. He's not like nearly 80 years old coaching. For him to like not adapt to this and just to be hardline old school, this is how we're going to do it, is really weird and short-sighted. And I don't know why, like you said, he's wanting to stand on it makes like he's on some higher plane for doing this. You know, like he has galaxy brain. Everybody else can't see what he's doing. When it's like, I don't know, dude, you were like third in the ACC last year.
Yeah.
So, and you were fighting for third.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think like those are the things. All right, let's go through the list a little bit quicker here.
Number 3 is a
number
big
3,
one.
Lance Leipold. Totally agree.
I don't.
Number 3, no. I do think that
I think he's a great coach. He probably deserves to be in top 25. Number 3.
Number 3 may be a little bit higher right now, but given what he's doing, it can't like.
Can they win 10 games?
I think they can. I think in the new Big 12, a Lance Leipold Kansas team's going to be scary.
Can they win 10 games before we put him as number 3?
Oh, yeah.
Number 3
sure,
best
yeah,
head coach?
Maybe so. Yeah.
I mean, that was my thing. It's like win 10 games, make the Big 12 championship. Like you made significant progress. You're doing things. I'm not going to knock what you've been able to do at Kansas. It's simply impressive, but like you haven't been there.
Yeah, and look, things are changing at that
And part of this is
university
also
because of him.
But a lot of this is also resume based.
I think that's kind of where I get skewed with this. Is like the championship.
Yeah,
right. And I think they will have the ability to make a run this year, and then we will all be like, of course, Lance Leipold's like one of the best.
Yeah.
We all said it before, but I do agree that like if he was at a university with better resources and facilities, not that Kansas can't spend money. We see what they do for their basketball team, but with better football facilities and stuff, which they're building currently, and with a history more so of winning recently, could he be in contention for playoffs and things of that sort? I think he's that kind of caliber of coach. What he's done currently in a Power 5 conference, I'm not quite sure warrants that. Granted, it is Kansas, so like, what are we saying here? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a confusing thing.
It's interesting to see him all the way up at number 3 above some of the names that we're going to list here.
Yeah.
Who have had more success recently.
Well, Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Day, obviously, although Ryan Day, again, I can't knock Ryan Day. He only really loses to Michigan and like randos. Like it's not like there's not.
He only loses when it matters.
Yeah, he almost beat that Georgia team.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a kicker away from beating the Georgia team. So people forget two things about the playoff from 2 years ago. That TCU beat Michigan and Georgia was an ugly shanked kick. On the ropes.
CJ Stroud had them in hell.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why
all those first-round defensive players, and he was throwing for 500 yards.
Yeah,
it didn't matter.
which when the Texans got CJ Stroud, they were like, "Oh, great! Like, look at this film. Look what he did. Against the best.
When they drafted him, I will say this, but we'll go back to the list. When they drafted him, I didn't watch any other tape besides the Georgia game because that was the first tape where he had to actually move in the pocket, and I was like, "Nah, that's it. That's gonna be."
That's been the indictment of the Big Ten. Is like, it's a couple of teams every year, and then a bunch of like. We play football in the mud here, in the snow, in the rain.
I don't know. CJ Stroud was standing upright most of the time.
Yeah, like this is what we do here. Grit it out. We play the way that Walter Camp goddamn meant us to. But
in the mud, in the muck.
Yeah, that's
broken fingers and jaws.
Yeah.
What?
Like men, damn it, men.
Then we go smoke a pack of cigarettes.
Not these ballerinas that run spread offenses. I don't want to see that. I want to see you running the ball.
Most everyone has a spread offense.
I want 1-inch line splits. And
what's your feet touching the other person's feet?
If you're a lineman, you can have 2 bars on your face mask. Anybody else has 1.
Oh, my God.
Don't cry to me about your mouthpiece either, you baby. No, like those kind of things. I could go on that character. Old school.
Keep going. No, yeah.
Old school Big Ten coach might need to be. That might be my Kirk Ferentz.
Yeah.
You need a houndstooth hat.
Yeah.
And just like a cigar. Keep it moving.
And like really like mid-level watered down bourbon.
Right.
Like he's been sitting there with the same ice cube complaining for so long.
Why do I drink Jack Daniels? Because it's American, damn it.
Yeah. You know, motion offense. Kiss my ass. You know, those kind of things.
Did you see they're throwing the forward pass now?
Yeah.
What happened to the game I love?
I couldn't stand those guys who are running the wishbone like sissies. It's even worse now. They throw it straight ahead. But number 6.
I will say, going real back, Kalen DeBoer, like, granted he got that Washington team to heights that like it hadn't been since the 90s, but I can't decide if this list is a lot of like evaluation or what have you done for me lately.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I kind of feel about Kalen DeBoer all the way up at number 4.
Yeah. Do you think Grizzled? Yes, I agree with you. I'm more on Grizzled Big Ten coach now, but Kalen DeBoer is fantastic, and he's earned his job at Alabama, and he'll continue to probably earn it. I think, look, he's not going to be Saban, but Alabama's still probably going to be good.
They'll be pretty good.
That's the problem. Like, that's the only problem is that Alabama has like. They've been in Valhalla this whole time, you know, like people feeding them golden grapes and, you know, like rubbing their back when they're sore.
Yeah.
And now they're just going to have to live how everyone else lives. And that's not even that bad. Like they'll still have a really good life, but, you know.
Well, it's like if he goes and wins like one national championship in 5 years, it like feels like a failure to them.
Yeah.
Which is like,
nobody
else wins national champions.
It's hard. It's really hard to do. Nick Saban made it a lot easier. But I do think that we need to do some things with grizzled Big Ten coach.
Yeah.
Like that needs to be a character or some characters we do like a conference of them. Just grizzled Big Ten coaches.
And then like
or old school coaches.
And then like the coach for the coach for the Miami Dolphins, just like dude that vapes and has like,
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel just like Just Gen Z dude or millennial dude that vapes and like calls plays on a whim. I don't know, man. Run straight, you know. You're really fast. Why don't we just throw you the ball?
Yeah, Dabo would fit in that group. It's like those guys, and then Dabo's like, man, I love hearing these stories.
Yeah.
But number 6, and the most interested take I've gotten, I've wanted to hear, is from Garrett Ross, Garrett Sebastian Ross. That's not your middle name, is it?
No.
Okay. It is S, though. I know it's S.
Theodore.
Theodore?
No.
S.
Oh, S.
Garrett
I was just
S.
saying
Ross.
Theodore.
Shane.
Well, you didn't have to tell us. We were going to guess for a while.
Yeah.
But Garrett Shane Ross, that's such an Oglesby name.
It is. Good God.
But Garrett.
Dude, you have 3 first names.
Brian Kelly. Yeah. Brian Kelly, who has at least 2.
Yeah. He has 2 first names.
Brian Kelly at number 6. Way too high. Way too high. This guy is he's going to win a lot of games. Obviously, I know he's the winningest coach in Notre Dame history, yada yada yada. But you're 5-3 against top 10 teams. Like it's hard to watch. At times, I know, and my bar's probably a little high because every coach that's gone to LSU is like wins natties, and I just look at this where I don't know where they're at. Like they're going to be good, but when you bring Sark in, I think Sark can make it. You can make an argument that Sark would be a better coach than him. Obviously, DeBoer's ahead of him. I just, man, like Mike Norvell has straight up beaten this guy twice the past 2 years and is 4 spots behind him. I
was stunned when I saw that, by the way.
It makes no sense. He's just like James Franklin, who's right behind him. He's going to win games. He's going to win a lot of games. When it comes down to it, though, crunch time against an elite head coach, I do not have faith in Brian Kelly at all.
By the way, I think you said 5-3 versus
ridiculous.
5-13 versus since Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Since they got blown out by Alabama, that guy has not been able to get off the schneid.
Yeah. And look, James Franklin's the same. Like, these guys are really, really good coaches. Really good. But great coaches win titles. And
their ceiling is an 11-win team that gets blown out by their best team.
They have not done that yet.
Nope.
Not saying that they can't. Like, I believe almost anybody can. You just have to make the right decisions. But, look, that is it. Number 8 is Kyle Whittingham. Totally fine with that. I
think he's a great coach.
Dude's consistent, fantastic, and has a great chance to start winning conference. I mean, he's won 2 conference titles there at Utah. I mean, 2 Pac-12 conference titles. He's got a great chance to come in and win the Big 12.
I was going to say they sneaky have a chance to kind of like dominate the new Big 12, really, especially with the talent that they get out there and like the way he develops talent out there. Utah puts a lot into their football program.
Yeah.
But, like, it's going to look real rough for BYU when Utah comes in. It's like, no, we kind of run things now, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln Riley at number 9, best quarterback coach in the country. No problem with that, but he's got to get better at USC, which I think he eventually will. Mike Norvell at number 10, and we're going to end it at the top 10 here because then you can kind of get into the weeds of the other ones. But,
Sark at 11.
Sark at 11,
Climbing at 12.
and he'll be higher than that. Rich Rodriguez at 25 was interesting to me. I put Jamie Chadwell over him, but that's just because I'm a Jamie Chadwell stan. I also put Jeff Traylor over him and Matt Campbell over him and a lot of other people. But this is Bruce Feldman's list, not mine. But Norvell at 10 and Sark at 11. I think that's about fair, right? For what they, I think Norvell, given what you said, should maybe be a little bit higher.
I think both of them should be up a little higher, honestly.
But I mean, Norvell, you're talking about
need Sark to have more than
sample
one
size
good
that's pretty.
season.
I think they're both in the same spot. Sample size is really small.
Yeah.
Sample size really small. When we come back, Royden's thoughts on the combine, who his new draft crushes are, and we'll do NFL draft rapid fire for a team that Garrett will pick. To be determined in the next few minutes. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Royden Ogletree alongside, and it is time for NFL Draft Rapid Fire, the internet's most medium favorite segment. I'm not going to say...
The crowd goes mild.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people tolerate this. It's what my goal was. Look, you can't go into everywhere thinking people are going to fall in love.
Yeah.
Not everybody's Julio Iglesias, right? Like, I didn't expect people to be throwing their panties on stage for this one. But I thought it would build off of something. And I hope people enjoy that metaphor.
All I wanted was one phone number.
Yeah, that's it. But NFL Draft Rapid Fire, we're gonna pick a team, and then we'll get draft crushes from Royden. or combine crushes. People get combine crushes. I think it's kind of silly to me, and I said this yesterday. The combine should only reinforce what you already think.
Yeah, I mean, like who runs and throws better in their underwear is like the silliest thing that we do for 3 months, but whatever.
Yeah, absolutely, and people get nuts about it. But if you already liked a guy and then you saw him work out well, it's only going to help you enhance that. But if you didn't like a guy and he still worked out well, it's not. I don't know.
Look, here's the thing: if you thought Xavier Worthy was a second-round pick, and then all of a sudden you saw him run faster than the Flash, you're like, aha, knew it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, no, I honestly think he's going to get into the first round because of that, and maybe he deserves to, and maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but I do think the Chiefs make a lot of sense for him,
right?
And I do think the Bills,
except that he also can't catch the ball, so
so we'll see. I don't know. They'll make that determination, but all right, Garrett, pick a team that we've not done yet.
Let's go with the Bengals. How can y'all help my man Joe Burrow?
All right, how do we help Joe Burrow? The Bengals have the 18th pick in the draft. So, the tackle would be good. They franchised T. Higgins, which I think they are intending to sign T. Higgins.
Yep.
So the wide receiver question is kind of solved. Although, had they not done that or tagged and traded him, I would say that maybe taking a guy like Keon Coleman or A.D. Mitchell or Brian Thomas would make a lot of sense for them, just because you lose T. Higgins. But since they're not going to lose T. Higgins, then
if Brock Bowers could fall to them somehow, I don't think he gets out of the top 15. Then that would be just another weapon in Joe Burrow's arsenal. Granted, they need help on the offensive line still, even though they've tried to address that since Joe Burrow's been there, and he got sacked 65 times his rookie year, and he's now constantly just kind of hurt with a litany of different injuries. But their defensive line was decent last year, but right now, Bleacher Report has them taking Jazon Newton out of Illinois for the defensive line. If Murphy could fall to them from Texas, that would be good too. But interior defensive line or offensive line is what they'll probably end up going with. But it looks like all the great offensive linemen are going to go in the top 10. There's not going to be a defensive player picked until pick 12.
No, but I do think that there's value in because I don't think Amarius Mims is going to get into the top 10. I think he's going to live in that teens to 20s area. I think that Troy Fountainow from Washington is going to live in that area. I think that probably maybe a couple of the guys, maybe J.C. Latham can get down into that area. So they've got an opportunity there to pick somebody up that can protect Joe Burrow really well. All right, draft crushes for you or combine crushes, guys that you were excited. Look, John McClain tweeted today that he thinks that Jonathan Grenard is going to leave Houston via free agency, and that he thinks that they will use that first-round pick on a defensive end to pair opposite Will Anderson.
If Jonathan Grenard does go, they just paid Dalton Schultz a lot of money to stick around. They have a ton of cap space, thankfully, but Jonathan Grenard, if they don't tag him, which
I don't think
they're going to, then yeah, it's tough because how can you replicate what he's turned into, which is a 10 to 15 sack production? I don't know, and I'm not completely studying. I would go interior defensive lineman more so than hopefully you could find somebody.
Johnny Newton.
I don't know. Can we trade up and get the cat from Florida State?
Jared Verse.
Jared Verse.
Jared Verse is an outside guy, but
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. They could that look if you have Jared Verse and Will Anderson, who are exactly the same size and speed and everything. I saw that graphic today. That's pretty lethal on the outside.
Right now this is USA Today, which is all over the place. This USA Today mock has Jared Verse falling all the way to that. I don't think that'll happen.
Look, here's what I think is going to happen.
He tested really well.
The quarterback situation is going to muddy the waters this year more than anything else because you have Like, you have Denver in there that's completely just willing to take this bath on Russell Wilson. So it's getting like you're making rash decisions to change.
Well, it's
quarterbacks.
getting really silly, and they're going to end up like really jumping on like J.J. McCarthy or something like that.
And look, I do hope J.J. McCarthy winds up having a great career. I just need to see it. Like, that's all I need. Like,
I kind of think he can get somebody fired.
I need to see, like, he's either going to get somebody fired or he's going to make him look like a genius.
Yeah.
Because that's where he's living right now. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, I do believe in J.J. McCarthy's case. He was not asked to do a lot of the things. Like, had you put him in, say, Georgia's offense, maybe that's different. Had you put him in Texas's offense, maybe it's different. But he was in Michigan's offense, and they didn't have to throw it that much to win, which I think says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to be optimistic about this kid because I really do. I think he's a gamer. I really like his style of play. I think that, he's a national championship quarterback. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say his not having to pass is more about their crap schedule than his ability.
Yeah, but also like the comment, like he can't throw left.
Yeah. So
I heard somebody say it's like Zoolander, like he can't go left, he can't turn left.
Yeah. So we'll see, and it depends on who gets him and who coaches him up and all those different things. But do you have somebody that after the combine you're like, man, this guy's awesome?
I mean, look, Xavier Worthy is the fastest human alive, like technically. So that's it'll be interesting to see how that translates, like straight line speed. If people are really gonna like, he's really skinny and his hands aren't the best, and but that being said, GMs love speed. I don't care if you're like the Oakland Raiders of old or now. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe he just ran. Like they're killing themselves to try and probably get this guy. Everybody's going nuts over Kenyon Mitchell out of Toledo, who may be the first cornerback off the board. He ran like a 4.3, and he's also kind of a big cornerback too. Right now in Lance Zierlein's draft, he's projected to go to the Texans. I don't see him actually falling that far. That would be really interesting for the Texans to do. But, it's kind of tough when, also none of the quarterbacks outside of, J.J. McCarthy and who am I blanking on for Washington?
Michael Penix.
Yeah, Michael Penix. All of the mid-tier quarterbacks tested, but, the top three guys didn't.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a read. I still think it goes Williams, May,
Daniels,
thank you. I think it still goes Williams, May, Daniels, although some have projected because they hired Cliff Kingsbury.
But I agree with that. Like Cliff and Jane, like that.
But it's not like Drake May didn't play a spread offense.
No, but I just think that Daniel's a little bit more mobile.
Right.
And so that's where you're going to get that Kyler, Mahomes, Murray,
That's the style the league is shifting to.
Yeah. That's where, and look, and Drake May's more mobile than people give him credit for. But I just think that Daniels might be that, the combo that's maybe too good to pass up. Now, look, if Washington, had not hauled off and won 2 games they shouldn't have this year, we wouldn't be having this debate because Cliff Kingsbury would already be talking about Caleb. Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, listen, when Caleb gets here, we can't wait. He's from that area. Yep. He already knows his way around. We can't wait.
Right.
Does he miss his high school girlfriend? We'll find her. She's right here. We can send it. We don't have to send a real car. We can get her in an Uber X. We can get her here. If that's what we'll do. So
I think it'll go kind of chalk in that order. I'd be interested to see what the Patriots do now that, Russ is out there. Do they go with an older quarterback or they try to get Baker Mayfield and then just take Marvin Harrison Jr., which they kind of probably should do.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in that. Malik Neighbors and Roma Dunze, how close are they? I'm actually really interested in because Roma Dunze, really big wide receiver, tested really, really well. Really great straight line speed for him as well, but he has some of the best hands in the draft as well too. But again, I will say this, and I said it last week, Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome. And he's also 6'3", 220, and he runs a 4.3, so that's sick.
Well, he's got these great routes. He just looks like an NFL receiver.
Yeah.
And he just and not even a flashy one, and just he's a first down machine.
Yep.
And that's what whatever team he goes to.
Also could be a red zone threat too. Like he's just bigger than Malik. But
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors. Yeah, he's just bigger than that guy too. Malik Neighbors is incredible and probably should go in the top 5. But like, I'm enamored with Brian Thomas Jr.
Look, Rome Odunze is the favorite receiver.
He's my favorite receiver. Yeah.
He's the favorite receiver of this draft. A near guest at the Super Bowl. I'm going to say near because he walked near us when they told us he didn't have time. So it was near. Like, hey, does he have time? No, but he was near to being a guest.
I know.
All he would have to do was sit down in the chair that was open.
Yeah. He's nearly there.
He was nearly there.
I am interested because Lance Zierlein has like Malik Neighbors going above Marvin Harrison Jr. And I just don't see any earth where that happens.
I think part of the thing, like people
are they really that mad that he won't test anywhere?
Maybe so. I don't know. But yeah, I am kind of with him on like you saw me play.
Yeah,
like,
you know the tape speaks for itself. And people are online are like saying, "Oh, if his name wasn't Marvin Harrison Jr., he'd go in like the second round." And I'm like, not true whatsoever. I don't know if you watch Marvin Harrison Jr. play. He's a revelation at wide receiver. He's incredible. And he almost feels like the most can't miss prospect in the draft. I just find it, I really do agree with him. And he's like, look, I don't need to be training for the Olympics. Mm-hmm. So come watch me at my pro day.
Yeah, exactly. All right, that's going to do it for us. Later on the 3 o'clock show, 365 Sports, Jamie Pollard at 425. Pat Nunley will talk Baylor basketball with us after their big win last night. And John McClain joins the show, plus Craig Smokes off the Raider and my top 5 that we did not get to see on Friday. We're doing it today, people. Hey. So there we go. That's going to be the show today. Plus, Neil Brown got an extension. Can't wait to hear our West Virginia fans talk about that one. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business.